Bicycle and Pedestrian Street Safety Commission meeting, recorded Thursday, July 11, 2019.
We call this meeting to order. Do a roll call.
Rourke.
Here.
Fehrenbach is excused. O'Mara.
Here.
Dugan.
Here.
Borski has resigned, and we do not have a alternate, but we do have 3 members, so we have a quorum.
Hey. Very cool. Item 2 on the list. By the way, before we keep moving, it's beautiful outside. Can we just move this outside? Sorry, joke.
It's so nice out there.
Ah, geez. Okay, so we'll stay in here. Item 2, persons who wish to address the committee for up to 3 minutes on a non-agenda item. Anybody from the commission? I do have one. Point of clarification, and with recent news, Commissioner Borski has resigned, which leaves vacant a regular position on the commission. So I notified the mayor and Associate Planner Kyle about this vacancy, and it's going to be posted soon for applicants. Now, I guess we'll hear more about that. So that means there's two vacancies currently. One regular position and one alternate position. That's all I had. Any other non-agenda items from even the audience? No? Okay. Item 3, report of the June 6, 2019 meeting.
I move we approve the minutes as published.
Is there a second? I do have an edit.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Commissioner O'Meara.
So
Page 3
I'm
of
not
9.
offended.
Page 3 of 9 in the packet. We could possibly change pedestrian plan prioritization model to just prioritization model.
Help me out on the page, where is that? 5?
Page
Number
3
5.
of 9. Remind myself where I found that.
It's 2 of 4 in the document.
So last sentence on that page.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
2 of 4 in the document, 3 of 9 on the top.
Okay.
So if we just crossed out pedestrian plan, it would be accurate. So that's an edit. Is there a second or withdrawal?
I will modify my motion to
Okay.
reflect your edits.
Is there a second with modification? I second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 No opposition. Motion carries.
Maria did want to comment on just how she,
Okay.
There has been several questions, not just from this commission, but from others in terms of how things are noticed as attendance. So if you're looking at the minutes, at the very top, the present and also present would be all those who were in attendance, regardless of whether they're here for the whole meeting or just for 5 minutes. When the call to order is done, it's done exactly as it was at the time that it was done. So if you were not present at the time and were there to announce your presence, you're not going to be marked present in the roll call, but you will be marked present in the overall attendance at the top.
Okay.
do
That's
you usually
completely
still
reasonable.
notify when somebody arrives as well?
I do. I'll look at the time when they come in and I'll note so-and-so arrived at this time.
Thank you. Okay, are there questions on that at all? There are not. Okay. We shall move on then to item 4. Schedule new regular meeting date and time. So, I guess I'll lead this off. Traditionally, this body and the previous membership as a BPAC, Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee to the city, have been meeting during regular business hours. And I think as a result, attendance has been low. We cherish our current audience members, but having 2 and the engagement that we've seen over the years has been not as robust as might be possible. So, this has also been the case for some previous BPSSC members as well as BPAC members. So even though evening hours aren't as flexible for myself, I still think an evening commission meeting would be best for the public. Further, it's harder for those in poverty or dire financial straits to share their voice because they can't get off work to attend a meeting currently. Ironically, this demographic of people would be most empowered by bicycle and pedestrian improvements. So, one could even make the case that equitable transportation, if it did exist here in Stevens Point, it could assist in lifting people out of poverty. So, further, in the staff memo on page 6 of 9, it reads, staff are flexible to attend during normal business hours or during the evening. So my stance is I am in favor of an evening meeting time.
I am too.
Cool.
I think that's a good idea. I just wouldn't want to be on the same evening all the other city committees are, because then you get jammed that if you're not the first meeting, you could end up being there for 2 hours while we're discussing raising chickens.
Although very valuable, raising chickens is a,
It's not a big pedestrian issue.
right. It is if you're a chicken. Question for staff.
Yeah.
Thoughts on having it on the Monday committee dates or not for evening times?
I would say not.
Not.
Because the meetings are stacked, and if somebody's there to speak and we're somewhere in the lineup of meetings, I don't know if they would have the patience to stay for those meetings.
Mhm.
And they fluctuate. You could have a meeting run longer. I don't really like saying after the previous meeting, or because
Right.
there's no set date or there's no set time, and that could be,
Right.
like I said,
Yeah.
10 minutes one night and 2 hours the following month.
Yeah, for example, last Monday,
That's what happens, yep.
I showed up and I'm like, oh, we're not even close to the meeting I was coming for. And that's tough for those that have kids. Maria, did you have any?
None in
Suggestions?
particular. I'm just trying to think. Mondays are typically, I mean, you'd want to have it before Common Council in case anything needed to go before them. So within the first 2 weeks of the month would be ideal. And then just at least a day or 2 or maybe 3 for minutes to be drafted in case that they need to be drafted quickly. But aside from that, just probably staying clear of the first Monday. Tuesday might work. We don't have any meetings from our office on Tuesdays, the first Tuesday. Wednesday, I believe, is HPDRC. So Tuesday, Thursday, I think would be good.
Tuesdays are county board meetings, correct?
The first
Typically?
Tuesday?
First Tuesday.
Okay. Could do that then. And the second Tuesday is redevelopment authority, but they're during the day.
During the day.
So maybe,
So we currently
Tuesday,
meet
second Tuesday?
after Public Works anyway, right? Because they're the second Monday, typically. So it could be a second Tuesday kind of thing?
Yeah.
Evening of second Tuesday. There was a hand, Alder Jennings?
Tori Jennings, Alder District 1. I was just, Maria, you said not Monday with plan. I was just wondering with Plan Commission, because you and
I would.
Mr. Kearns are here, so is Monday just too not a good
So,
time?
Plan Commission meetings oftentimes fluctuate. We've been really blessed having really short meetings the last 2 months, but you know, if you get into the winter months when all the planning items are coming in and to get prepared for the building season, we've had 2-3 hour meetings. And unless we're going to keep changing the times every time, you know, the season changes, unless you want to.
I was just wondering about before, between 5 to 6 o'clock, or is that not, does staff need a break Sorry, Dan.
Yes, they do.
I don't
Most
have
likely.
children. I'll let Kyle.
I don't think we necessarily need a break. The thing I would worry of is if you did a 5 o'clock meeting, then you're setting yourself up to have a hour meeting only for this group. And while the meetings have been relatively short recently, I would anticipate in the coming year, these meetings would get a little bit longer and have some more serious items again as staff internally accepts and acknowledges the commission and places things on this body for review. For example, next month, we're going to have you guys review a development, a larger development for interconnectedness in East Park Commerce Center. And I foresee other things in the future, at least from our department, as well as Scott's department being on these agendas, which may mean that they may take longer than an hour. And then I would hate to,
Adjourn the meeting. and wait
adjourn the
till other
meeting,
ones
start
are
plan
done.
commission,
Yeah.
then adjourn plan commission until this meeting,
Yeah.
just having that,
That's,
Yeah, that's,
I wouldn't think would be ideal.
yeah.
Plus, if you want to catch that crowd, is 5 o'clock too early? Is 6 or 7 a better time?
Yeah.
Because people
Not
can
sure.
jump home and throw dinner
Mhm.
in their gullets.
I would probably think Tuesdays or Thursdays, any time of the month would be the best.
I
Okay.
agree.
I sort of like Tuesdays. Just throw out there, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock on Tuesdays.
That allows-
Potential new commissioner, did you want to?
Do I need to speak up here?
You would, yeah. Name and address, please, if you want to provide any input. You don't have to, if you'd like to.
Well, my name's Keely Crook, and, well, recently named Keely Fischler. So I'm at 3101 Channel Drive in Stevens Point. And if I am on the committee or the commission, the Tuesdays or Thursdays at 7 o'clock PM or any time really would be fine for me. So
Okay.
it's mostly up to you all because I'm pretty flexible. So
Okay,
I'll just leave it at that.
thank you. Tuesday at 7, sounds like what we're leaning towards.
I think that works pretty well.
Does that have a consensus, Maria? Uh-oh.
Could 7 be too late for those who do have children, need to get them to bed? I don't have kids, I don't know what time they go to sleep.
Depends on the parent.
What time do they go to sleep?
It differs.
My kids are later. Too late, you think?
I think 5:30, 6, 5:30 or 6 would be.
Okay. I'm flexible.
Flex?
6 is good.
6? Dinner time?
6 is fine. Plan commission's at 6, so
Mm-hmm.
other committees start at 6 or
That's right.
before.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think there's consensus for a 6 o'clock second Tuesday of the month, is that correct? I think.
Yeah, it would be. yeah,
First
'cause
Tuesday
RA is
would
during
be
the
right
day.
after Plan Commission, but before Public Works. Any preference, Kyle?
The second Tuesday would be after plan commission and after
Both.
public works, yeah.
Right. Would that be preferable?
I think that's fine, yeah.
All right. Sounds like we have
We would
consensus
just,
on that.
the only thing is just making sure that, and it's fine, because committees do the same thing, but making sure that any actionable items from that Tuesday meeting are provided to the city clerk by the following Wednesday
Yeah.
for council to take action. And I don't see this body having a ton of action that council needs to, approve, but in the instance where, things do come up,
Yeah.
we as
Resolution.
staff would just have to make sure on Wednesday morning that that's provided to the clerk, which we can work around.
Okay. So that would put us for August, we can mention it
August 13th, I think.
later if we wanted, but yeah, August 13th at 6 PM. So if you can pencil that in. And Kyle and Maria, if you can update the template for our agendas, please, for the
Mhm.
times. Awesome. All right. Cool beans. We'll move on to the next item, which is the alternate, number 5, alternate position vacancy. So I mentioned this before. So with the recent resignation, we now have 2 vacancies, 1 regular position, 1 alternate. One of these positions will most likely get filled at the next city council meeting, and as my understanding is, the mayor's been in touch with the candidate he is putting forward about the regular position now, because I did forward the resignation to Kyle and the mayor. So things are moving here quite fast. So the cool thing I will mention as well in regards to the last agenda item is this might free up more people to actually serve on this commission.
I think so. I do.
Yeah.
I can give you a whole list of people who might come.
Cool, there you go.
Would you like it?
Well, I think once that position is announced by the city, so is it typically the mayor mayor's office that's in charge of announcing
Yeah.
vacancies?
Yeah.
Yep, so he would typically just do a news
Right.
article, yeah.
So once we see that, just share it with each other and promote?
Yep.
Okay. That's really all I had on that agenda item. Any other commissioner questions or thoughts on that item? Anyone from the audience? No? Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to the next, which would be item 6, repainting Sharrows on Prentice and other streets. I brought this to the commission in respect to the meeting, most recent meeting I had with Director Badoon as well as Associate Planner Kearns. And the Director of Public Works had mentioned that the sealant on Prentice Street was the reason why the Sharrows weren't painted yet. And there's also a question of need, but I did actually suggest in that meeting, I thought bringing those Sharrows back was a good idea. So he said soon after drying or curing, those Sharrows can be repainted. If the director was here, I was going to ask him if that was going to be a July deadline. I don't know if Kyle, if you've heard from Director Badoon at all?
Nope.
Okay.
I have not, unfortunately.
I've talked to him recently about the new striping equipment and how they are used, and I think a contractor did it north of North Maria, and now the
Okay.
city's new stripers are going to do the rest of Prentice to the south of Maria.
Okay.
So maybe those people, at any rate, they're going to do a lot of striping.
Sure.
So I don't know if they can get the Sharrows in at the same time or not, but they will be working on that road soon with their new striping equipment.
Okay. Is that the same bid as the paint that was already laid down with the bike lane between Maria and North Point?
Yeah, except we will do it now.
Okay.
It's being done with city forces, and they're using a latex-based paint, water-based paint.
So you might talk to Director Badoon about that, and how the two could be coordinated if necessary.
I do think that they should be repainted. They haven't been in long enough for us to really have a decent judgment about their effectiveness.
I would agree. The other thing I wanted to bring up, unless there's anything else on repainting the Sharrows on Prentice. Anything from the audience on repainting the Sharrows? Was also painting new Sharrows on certain streets. Specifically, I wanted to mention Isidore. Since my recommendation last year of a two-way cycle track was not considered and no bicycle facilities were included in reconstruction, and my understanding is that that street also needed to be sealed, so the time would be now if there's any paint to be laid down. So even though Sharrows are minimal approach, as far as educating bicyclists and pedestrians alike, I do think that would be a good street to paint Sharrows on.
I would concur.
So I don't know if that's a obviously it's not a voting item, but do I, as a chair, make a recommendation directly to Director Badoon that we have consensus on that, or because it's part of potentially a capital budget? What's the process?
I would first reach out to Director Badoon. He can probably provide some background information. I was not aware of his absence here today. But I think the next step could be for this body to take action on an item such as that then would go to the Common Council.
Okay. So
But
reach out. Okay.
again, I think it's putting the cart before the horse if you're to take action on it without, getting
Yeah, 'cause-
the director's, feedback and
might be doing it
opinion
already.
on.
Yes,
It's possible.
Wouldn't that be cool?
and you don't want to embarrass them.
All right.
Let's get
All right, so I'll
you-
reach out to Director Badoon about Isidore. Are there any other streets? Because it still fits within that
Gosh,
agenda
we're
item.
redoing streets all over the city. There will be, I think.
I think it's important when you put these special treatments on, Sharrows are one of those treatments that if they're on every street, they have no effect at all.
They don't need, yeah, I wouldn't want to put them on every street.
Yes, and so I think we have to, and I agree with Isadora Street, because that has heavy bicycle use, but I think that that'd be something we probably want to have someone look at, because it's like putting up too many stop signs. They
Yeah.
ignore them all if you put up too many.
Yeah.
Good point. Okay. I'll reach out to Director Badoon. Any other thoughts or streets?
Yeah, I would ask him how many streets are being, resurfaced, not reconstructed, but, quite a few, all over.
Those are all in his capital budget.
Yeah, yeah, some,
So you just get that one page and you're all set.
so it's possible there are a lot of places for Sharrows or lanes that we haven't identified.
And I imagine that we can cross-reference the bike ped plan
Yeah.
even next month, at the next month's meeting. Okay. Anyone in the audience have any feedback, comments on that item? Okay. So mostly internal workings there. All right, we'll move on to item 7. September 2019 bicycle and pedestrian counts. So for the last 5 or 6 years, the county and then the BPAC and now the BPSSC has been doing bicycle pedestrian counts in September. The purpose of the count is to get brief snapshot looking at current and future bicycle pedestrian demand for the city. And each year the dates line up with the National Bicycle and Pedestrian Documentation Project. And those dates as well as the methodology. Commissioner Fehrenbach has committed to run the count again, which is a big thumbs up to him. Super thanks. So that's awesome, but he does need help. So in an email that Bill wrote to me, he said, in accordance with the National Bike Ped Count Project, the dates for this year's fall count would be Wednesday, September 11th, and Saturday, September 14th. Further, as I mentioned earlier, I would be out of state on Saturday, September 14th. I am willing to coordinate, but we would need to have someone taking charge on Saturday in my absence. So, Bill's taking lead. Do we have a volunteer for September 14th to be the Bill Fehrenbach on Saturday?
I could never be the Bill Fehrenbach,
Fill his shoes.
but I am willing to work on the count on the 14th.
Okay, awesome.
Let me just check my,
Is that all right? Good with that? Don't want to be fair here. Okay. So Michael, volunteering?
I'll reach out to Bill too and ask if we can be of any more assistance to him in terms of any paperwork or maps or any other documents he needs from a
Yeah. that'd be great.
administrative standpoint.
Okay, awesome.
Trevor, could you just do a quick review of what the count amounts to, since I'm new, and how do you arrange it, and where is it all over? There's several places in
Sure.
the city.
Yeah, so over the years, some of the sites have changed, but basically, Bill has coordinated the entire process, managed the volunteers, and brought the selection of locations and adjustments of locations back to the committee or the commission as it stands now. But basically, 2 volunteers per intersection are placed around the city in predominantly the locations that are higher traffic volume for cars and/or bike ped. And there's I can't remember exactly the time slot, it was like 2 hours or so. Something like a 2-hour time slot of counting on each of those days. And then all that data is tabulated by Bill. And we report it back to the city. Now, this is something that planning department, community development, and/or public works can use potentially for planning as well as prioritizing where the needs are. So obviously got to take that type of data, just like any data, with a grain of salt, because you can't say, hey, this street has no bicycles on it. It only had 1 during this time period. A, it's only a snapshot, and B, there's potentially a huge reason nobody wants to bike there.
That's right.
We've gone through that before, right?
We have gone through
similar
that.
discussions. So it's still a valuable tool, and I don't know if Kyle, your department, can speak any more to that tool as far as past use or future use.
And we can use it in a number of different ways. We can provide it to developers that are looking to develop a subdivision and want to get a snapshot of at least the bicycle and pedestrian traffic, whether it's infill or somewhere else. We can use it, again, in public works or planning to push for additional bike lanes on a main thoroughfare. We compare it to accident data as well and PD. We can use it to cite in different grant applications or recognitions like bicycle-friendly community. And so it certainly has a lot of value to the city.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there any comments or feedback from the audience? So Michael's going to volunteer. Thank you for that, Michael. And we'll hear from Bill next month, because that's going to be a month away at that point, on what the next steps are. I imagine volunteer recruitment is probably the biggest next step. So Bill and I will be in touch about that. Cool. All right, moving on to the next item. And that would be item 8, TAP grant projects. So I'm going to do a quick read here of what the TAP grant is, super quick. TAP, Transportation Alternatives Program, is a legislative program that was authorized in Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act, or FAST Act. The Federal Transportation Act that was signed into law on December 4th, 2015. With certain exceptions, projects that met eligibility criteria for the Safe Routes to School program, transportation enhancements, and/or the Bicycle and Pedestrian Facilities program are eligible TAP projects. All TAP projects require sponsors to pay 20% of approved project costs. TAP projects are also capped. A TAP project may not be substituted for another project. TAP projects must commence within 4 years of the award date. TAP projects within the jurisdiction of a Transportation Management Area, or TMA, are selected at the regional level by TMAs, which are metropolitan planning organizations with a population over 200,000 people. TMA contact information provided below, et cetera, et cetera. So that was directly off the WISDOT, Wisconsin Department of Transportation website, on their TAP grant, or their Transportation Alternative Program page. So I brought this to light because I know the next cycle is coming up. So as mentioned in the staff memo, Stevens Point won a TAP grant submission for the 2016-2020 grant cycle. So again, that's 13.1 miles of bike lane, shared lane markings and signage. The 2020/24 cycle is right around the corner, and the application is due in January. And so right here, right now, we have to show either our interest in moving forward with the work. And I don't know, Kyle, and going through this process, me as a co-author, I understand this is a lot of work. Know it pretty well. The other co-author being here, she knows it pretty well. From a staff perspective, what's your feedback on the TAP grant and moving forward with it?
I think if there's a project that warrants an application and that we feel as though would be a strong application, I think we could probably certainly move forward with it. We'd certainly need to partner with the Public Works Department, and we'd probably lean on the Public Works Department for, some ideas of potential projects. We also have to keep in mind that it has to fit the timeline for the funding period. It's kind of different to think and silly to think that we applied for this almost 3 years ago now, and there's nothing that's come to fruition yet. That's just how long the process takes in terms of the application, the reviews, the design, and then the implementation. But with that being said, I think if there's a project that we feel is, quite strong, we should certainly move forward with it and could certainly move forward with it. And I would certainly be willing to help either Public Works or other departments pursue it.
Great. And it shows the value in it.
And the sort of stuff I would like us to look at, we did do the bike lanes. I'd like us to look for gaps in our sidewalk system.
Number one on my list.
No, I think that would be something for us to look at. I think that we have significant gaps, and
I think Director Badoon has already begun that
Yes.
significantly and would be the one that could provide
Yeah,
some
no,
more
that's what I would
information in
think.
that regard.
No, I agree with that, and I think that that would be a worthy TAP grant. What's nice is, it's one we do all the time anyway.
Well, it's in it further, we'd want to look at historic awardings, because if a sidewalk continuation project has never been awarded,
It's been
probably
awarded, let me tell you, it's been awarded like crazy.
Has it?
Yes.
Okay.
I used to award them.
He knows, all right, great.
That's why I mentioned it.
That's great.
So,
It would help our budget, actually, if we get a grant to pay for some of that.
sure, absolutely.
No, you have to show that this grant is over and above what you usually do.
Yeah.
So if you've been budgeting $50,000 a year for new sidewalk, yeah, if you're asking for $100,000, you better have $150,000 worth of projects. That's the way it works. You don't get to,
We do, and in my area, in my district, we've got all kinds of them that need to be done, but we don't have money to do them.
I understand, but I'm just saying, I'm just saying you don't get to cut one budget line and say it's gonna be all grants now.
Yeah,
That doesn't
yeah.
work.
So two things I'll mention before we get to the audience. One is, I think we should apply our new prioritization model to determine what's going to be valid, so see what bubbles up.
Yep.
So then, it's coming straight from the bike ped plan, just like we did before for the last TAP grant. It's already validated that way. And then we can still have plenty of conversations with staff about what comes about.
Yes.
So I think that was one item. We used that model. And the second one, I think we should decide today, at least get consensus on moving forward with doing the work, as in, we're willing to commit. So commit
You know
to the
that
prioritization model and then eventually committing to the application. itself.
Yes.
Do you know was the application deadline previously, was it in the spring? Do you guys remember when, or was it in like
The end
November?
of January was the final.
Okay. Okay. Do you know if that's the same timeline?
I don't know for
Applications?
sure. I can look at it quickly. Alder Jennings, did you have some comments?
Troy Jennings, Alder District 1. So first of all, the first thing that Trevor and I did when we were looking at working on this with staff before was we investigated what they're interested in funding. And that's always the first step in a grant application, is what are they interested in, and doing really good research on that. I have to contradict the idea that they would be interested in sidewalks. They're interested in sexy, good project, big project. I'm not saying sidewalks are not good projects, but big, sexy projects. I just want to throw out one that everyone here has talked about for a decade, because I've lived here a decade, and that's the lack of connection down Highway 10. And there's bridges and routes that have been sort of sketched out. You know, Prendergast is one. Mike, I don't know it. Michael, I don't know if you have been part of that, but a lot of people have already put a lot of work into that. It's way more money. It's a way larger project than the city could ever do. That's why you don't do sidewalks, because they're immediately going to say the city can do that.
Yes.
TAP grants are for projects the city could never possibly do itself. And just to conclude, I rode out to Brookdale the other day to give Trishaw rides, and I rode my bike down Highway 10 on the sidewalk, because that's the only place.
That's right.
And my blood pressure was through the roof.
That's right.
It was like running a gauntlet.
Yep.
It's a 5-minute ride straight on. I'm on the sidewalk, I'm having to stop my bike, get off, walk over and push a button. Half the buttons don't work, there's sand in the gutter. It was a nightmare. And I'm a skilled, experienced cyclist, and I couldn't believe how dangerous and ridiculous the whole thing was. There is no way to get on the east side of town unless you go way south or way north.
Right.
We have no connection, and that to me is a priority. So I just want to throw that out. I would be willing to help with a grant if it's a grant that I can get excited about. That would excite me and animate me. Sidewalks, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be animated about sidewalks, as important as they are. So it depends on kind of what kind of project. But thank you for bringing this forward, because this is the time that it has to be thought through. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other thoughts, comments, discussion from the commission?
Yeah, but no, those are doable projects. One of the ones was I was thinking about there is no decent pedestrian connection. It could be or even mixed use beyond Country Club Drive. It's terrible there. The whole design is terrible. And that's the sort of thing I would look at filling in a gap. And we can hang cantilevers off the side of bridges. We don't have to rebuild a bridge. You can put a bicycle and pedestrian area on an existing bridge. That's even been done in this district. In fact, we did it for snowmobiles.
So, moment of truth.
Oh, there is one?
There is one. I will mention that the grant cycle is not posted yet on the WISDOT website. So even though it's pending, the date isn't there. So we don't know if it's a January. But the last 2018-22, see if they have that. January 26th, 2018 was that last cycle. Okay, so
If you want to move forward with the prioritization model, I can provide the updated version to the members,
okay,
as well as the goals and objectives summary sheet that I put together, rather than having to comb through the entirety of the
Good idea, yeah.
the bike ped plan. I'll send those in an email, try to get them out this week, so that in August, then maybe you guys can
start.
take some action on it. If you want, you could send me the responses to the the model, and I could try to tabulate them
Okay.
and then make that part of the agenda packet in August.
Just via email, you're thinking, or?
Yep, I think via email should be fine.
Okay.
Since I'm not so familiar with the prioritization list, where do sidewalk continuations come into it? Is it there at all?
Oh, it's just a model. It's not actually
Yeah.
having content.
So the sidewalk recommendations are summarized in the bicycle and pedestrian plan. So
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
essentially pulled them out and put them in a summary
I
sheet
see.
for ease of use.
Okay.
And then what this body adopted was a model for which they can choose which recommendations to focus on. And so you follow that model and then, pick a certain number in each category and place a weight for each of those
Yeah.
recommendations, and then bring it back to the body and you analyze, I guess, the weight of each
Yeah, yeah,
recommendation, and
yeah, I
then
saw
come
that.
to a conclusion on what should be focused on.
But we haven't really done that at this point.
We have not, no.
Okay.
I think it would be helpful, though, if that's the approach of this body, that you probably want some background information into the TAP grant as well. I know they've got some fact sheets outlining, what TAP grant should do,
Yeah. That would be
past
helpful for those of us
projects.
who are new, and there will
Right.
be a couple more.
So I can try to put some information together in that regard as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to the WISDOT website, you can
Yeah.
see more of the background. They have PDFs on there. So that's a good place to start. Okay, so should we have that on the agenda for next month then? Starting with that model? Cool? Thumbs up? All right, we have consensus, cool. Any other discussion on that agenda item?
Just one last comment.
Yep.
Going back to the idea that the TAP grant project needs to be a big one that the city doesn't usually, can't really take on, as Alder Jennings said. I can't quite stop this, but the city will never complete the sidewalk continuation project. It's just one this year, one the next year, and all over the city we need it. We could do the whole city. That would be a very large project.
That would be huge.
It's
yeah.
everywhere. It's in every district across the city, so. There are lots of people trying to use the sidewalks. In our little area where I live, near Washington School, there's this new subdivision, and council required that new, sidewalks went in with every new development. And I can't believe how many people are using them. Children, people with strollers, people just out there. There's one family that walks on those sidewalks 3 times a day, all 3 of them together, rather than in the street where people used to walk. So
Very valuable.
it's great. I mean, for people of all ages. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other item? Discussion, feedback? Okay. All right, moving on to the next item. 9, Wisconsin state scooter legislation.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
It is interesting, yes. So on pages 8 and 9 of the packet, you'll find Senate Bill 152, which was signed into law by Governor Evers on July 8th. And I'm just going to read it really quickly here. It's not very long. So 2019 Senate Bill 152 defines, authorizes, and creates a framework for the operation of electric scooters on roadways, sidewalks, bicycle lanes, and bicycle ways. Under the bill, an electric scooter is a device that weighs less than 100 pounds, has handlebars and electric motor, is powered solely by the electric motor and human power, has a maximum speed of not more than 20 miles per hour on a paved level surface when powered solely by the motor. As defined, the term electric scooter does not include an electric personal assistive mobility device, or EPAMD, motorcycle, motor bicycle, or moped. In general, the bill applies the same rules of the road 2 electric scooters as are applied to e-pads under current law. Specifically, the bill provides that an electric scooter may not be operated at a speed in excess of 15 miles per hour and may not be equipped with a siren or compression whistle. An electric scooter must comply with front and rear lighting requirements in order to be operated during hours of darkness and must be equipped with a brake that is in good working condition. Under the bill, cities, villages, towns, and counties, here's where we come in, local governments may regulate the rental and operation of electric scooters in a manner consistent with state law and with the regulation of bicycles, including by restricting or prohibiting operation on sidewalks or streets, with speed limits in excess of 25 miles per hour, or by restricting or prohibiting the short-term commercial rental of electric scooters to the general public. And there's a Senate Amendment, number 1. There's actually only one amendment. Senate Amendment 1 excludes electric bicycles from the definition of electric scooter. The amendment also replaces the provision in the bill regarding local government authority to regulate electric scooters. Under the amendment, a local government may regulate the rental and operation of electric scooters, but must do so in the same way that it regulates bicycles, except as follows. A local government may restrict or prohibit the operation of scooters on roads with speeds in excess of 25 miles per hour, the operation of scooters on sidewalks and bicycleways, the short-term commercial rental of scooters to the general public. A local government may establish requirements for and limitations on the parking of scooters on roadways, sidewalks, bicycle lanes, and bicycleways. And it goes into the bill history. That is the bill overview. So, I think maybe Commissioner O'Meara had brought this to our attention maybe 3-4 months ago, somewhere in there, and we knew it was a pending issue. And with hearing it from the media around the country, with specifically bigger cities that have electric scooter drops by companies like Bird or Lime or others, even Uber, they own some subsidiaries now. And there's been lawsuits, some have been won. So it's kind of a confusing thing because it's a newer mode of transportation. It also is also a more dangerous form of transportation than bicycling or even walking. So with that, now that it's part of state law and that there's an opportunity for local government to regulate, I think that's where our commission has basically some authority. Any
From our
statements, commissioners?
From our particular venue, the first two, that the operation of scooters on roads with the speeds of excess of 25 miles an hour, that probably goes to the council. The second one, the operation of scooters on sidewalks and bicycle ways, it's bad enough that we have bicycles on it, the way some of
That's
the...
right.
I certainly would recommend we do these
Yes.
first two. The other ones are outside our, the parking and rental is for someone else other than us. That's outside our venue. But certainly, we don't want to have these scooters on sidewalks or any of our mixed-use paths. They want to be in a bicycle lane, that's fine.
I would concur. The mixed use is a little bit more gray, though, I must say.
I'd keep them out of it, because we already have trouble with bicycles misbehaving on mixed use. No, we do.
It is a mixed use path for bicycles and.
I know it is, but if you have the ability to do the regulation on it, to have something that's going 20 miles an hour when most people are going 12, that would be bicycles versus scooters, and the scooters weigh a lot more.
True.
And not all of our mixed-use paths are bereft of, cross-traffic. I think that they can be in the road. They can go 20 miles an hour.
Agreed. Yeah, I looked at this earlier, too. Don't let them on the sidewalks, definitely.
That was my first
Yeah,
Yeah.
contention, is to make sure that they're not allowable on
it's
sidewalks.
indeed bad enough that we allow bikes on sidewalks.
Right. So as a commission, do we come back next month with a draft? Draft?
I'd refer to,
I think what I can do is advise Police Department and Public Works to
Yes.
work together in drafting something, or at least doing some research, to
Yeah.
see what other communities have done. I'd certainly want them to get a better handle of it
Yeah.
before, we were to draft anything
and
and
I would
adopt it.
concur with that. We can tell them what our concerns are,
Yeah.
certainly, but they should be drafting legislation that they can live with.
Sounds like a plan.
Because I could just.
This isn't, sorry for interrupting, I don't think this has officially been adopted by the Senate, has it?
Been signed into law.
Still, it has been signed into law?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just, the mixed-use path, the one that goes past Iverson, I'm not so worried about. It might be possible that you'd have a scooter on that. But the one along the river, that would be terrible. We already have interactions between bicycles and pedestrians on that because we don't have great sight distance.
Interestingly enough, I've had near collisions with skateboarders, because they can get up to a good speed too.
Sure.
So, yeah, as well as people in electric wheelchairs.
Well, you're not going to do anything about that.
No, I know,
Right.
but I'm saying, the electric scooter would be similar, I think. They can get up to 20 miles an hour and 25, and that would be a little hard on a path, I think.
So we have a next step. Kyle, reaching out to those two departments?
PD and BPW?
Yep.
The other thing I would think of, because these scooters will go up to 20 miles an hour, let's say 15, we don't have clear zones on any of the sides of any of our paths. We have trees right up there, and for the safety of the people who are using it, it's also a big issue.
Yeah,
Good point. Any other feedback from commissioners, comments, audience, anyone? Okay. Can we add into your communication a potential deadline, say we'd like to review or actually
Something in
have a
August?
draft? Yeah, for September. I
Okay.
think
Yeah, that's-
August is probably cutting it close.
And there's not going to be that much action with scooters until it gets warm again.
Most likely, we don't have a scooter share, thankfully, yet. So, that'd be cool. Great. Nothing else? We'll move on to the next item, which is item 10, Facebook page for BPSSC. Okay, so the commissioner who wanted this on the agenda resigned. There's another commissioner that wants to speak on this. Otherwise, there's
I thought that Kyle's comments were appropriate, and I don't think we need to have one yet if the other committees don't have
What did
it.
Kyle say?
So in the staff memo, I
Yes.
won't read it. Kyle can read it.
Basically, I reached out to John Quirk. This has come up before when this body operated as the BPAC. Anyways, John Quirk, the website administrator, has a few concerns. One with regards to transparency and accessibility laws. The records that Facebook keeps are not enough. So essentially, John has to keep for the city's Facebook page an entirely separate set of records for every post, every comment, every
my gosh.
photo from a open records request standpoint. And essentially would have to replicate that for any additional city Facebook page. And he doesn't necessarily understand the reasoning that this group would, as a city functioning commission, would want one, when we can just post things through the city's Facebook page if they're in relation to, advocacy for biking or other activities regarding this commission. So I don't think he would support it, and I was more so in the memo just reflecting his comments.
And I would concur. It just seems to be way too messy, too fast. Because then you also have another variable, which I think Attorney Beveridge mentioned last year, that you can get into entanglements with walking forums on Facebook.
Oh, sure.
So
Yeah.
throw that into the mix as well, and it's just not worth it, I would say.
That's true. The mayor talks about that. We are to be very careful with Facebook and our forums, yeah.
So, is there a consensus for the commission here that we
Yes.
want to create a page? Excellent. Anything from the audience on that item? No alder here wants to desperately have a BPSC. All right, move on to staff update, item 11. Do you have any updates, Kyle?
The target area master plans, at least the Division Street one, they're putting together final recommendations. That should be available shortly. Don't have a date honed in on it, but should be wrapped up by the end of the summer. Still working on finalizing parklet guidelines. Again, they're mostly drafted, just need to provide some better visuals and some graphics that will help aid in anybody interested in a parklet. The other thing I wanted to mention in response to, I believe, an email from you, Trevor, was the final report by the Transportation Department, which I think now is going by a different name.
Central Transportation?
Central Transportation, there you go. They did a transportation plan update, and I just wanted to, I dug into it a little bit more and read some of it actually. The plan actually is geared more towards management and staffing, equipment, facilities, operation, marketing, and finance, not necessarily towards, facilities and routes and things of that nature. So I don't think it would be this body's, or I don't think it would be appropriate for this body to assist or make recommendations in regards to that plan.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Anything with comp plan or zoning?
Nothing.
Nothing yet?
I have no update on the TAP in terms of the bike lanes or any other projects at this point.
Okay, and at the Public Works meeting, there was a short TAP grant update, which was, there should be a public session soonish. I think there were some final designs hopefully done this summer. I think that was the plan. At least that's what I recall.
And then a presentation on those designs?
I believe so.
Okay.
There was no date specified. Anything else on staff update? Okay. So we are calling this meeting to adjournment at, anybody have time? That doesn't work.
8:30.
8:29.
3:06.
3:06, thank you. 3:06, we are adjourned.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.